Welcome everyone to another episode of TESOL Media Lounge powered by Summit K12. We're here at beautiful Long Beach, California, and we have three amazing TESOL facilitators with us today. Thank you so much for being here today.
Happy to be here, thank you.
Can you tell the audience a little bit about who you are and maybe what is your why?
I am a long time, I hesitate to even mention how many years, English language teacher, and have worked in the K-12 system, have worked in the teacher education setting, and now work in the language proficiency assessment space.
Okay. So you kind of did the whole span there.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
Awesome. Could you tell us, for those that have not heard of SWEL, or the school-wide English learning peer coaching model, what that is?
Absolutely. So the book that it's based on is Teacher Leadership for School-Wide English Learning. And the accompanying training works with existing English language development teachers and trains them to be non-evaluative peer coaches to their colleagues who are in the content area classrooms. So essentially it leverages local expertise in the form of the language teacher and helps to scale their knowledge and their expertise in supporting language learners across the school day in every classroom.
So then it's for any teacher, or how does that work?
So the teachers who come to the trainings that are facilitated by our expert facilitators are actually the English language development teachers. Sometimes they're also district coaches or school coaches who focus on language learners and supporting language learners throughout the school day. So those folks come and do the training. It's a 3-part workshop series offered through TESOL Education. And in those 3 workshops, what they do is they get the background knowledge. They're all trained in working with K through 12 students. They're not necessarily trained in working with adults. And so the training is really focused around helping to ensure that they have the resources they need, the background knowledge they need, and the confidence that they need to be able to go out and work with their content area colleagues to help support language learning throughout the school day. Because as we know, the English language teachers are typically given, I mean, if they're lucky, they have an hour with a
30 minutes
student,
usually.
30 minutes, exactly. So if they're lucky, they have an hour, but that means there are 6 other hours in the school day where they're not with a trained language teacher. So we really are working to get a school-based coaching, peer coaching, it's not evaluative, system in place in schools so that every teacher can be supporting language development across the school day.
Because every teacher is a language teacher.
Absolutely. Exactly. An important refrain that I can't say enough times. But it also squares, SWEL is really built on the principles of effective teacher professional development and what results in teaching innovation and change. And so essentially the EL teacher who becomes the SWEL coach is helping to ensure that ELs are considered in all initiatives. So SWEL coaching is not a standalone initiative. It's actually a support for existing initiatives. One good example is that we've worked with schools where they launched a new math curriculum in their middle school. And so the SWEL coach was there to help ensure that as the math curriculum was being launched out to the middle school teachers, that EL needs were considered in that process.
Oh, I love that. That's actually a great thing that you all are helping implement.
Yes, it's very much a site-based. The experts are there. Let's get them the resources that they need to be able to exercise that teacher leadership and be integral to the support of language learners across the school day.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much
Yeah,
for sharing
thank
that
you.
with me. Thank you, Michelle, for being here today. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are? What do you love about what you do?
Thank you for having me. My name is Michelle Benegas, and I am TESOL faculty here, and I'm one of the co-authors of the Teacher Leadership for School-Wide English Learning book. And what do I love about what I do? I come from Minnesota, which might not sound like a very interesting place to do this work. However, we have more refugees per capita than any other state. And so it's really exciting to get to be on the end of providing education for teachers. So knowing that they want to meet the needs of the kids in their classrooms, but don't necessarily have the tools. And so it's really exciting to be on that end, the end that's offering the tools to the teachers.
And helping the students, and well, helping the teachers to then thus help the students. So
of course.
Great. And Amy was here just a few minutes ago telling us about SWEL and how the model works and how implementation and a few tidbits about that. But you have a first edition, which did very well. What makes the second edition different from the first edition?
Yeah, so the first edition just launched. We're very proud of it. And the world has changed a lot since we published this book in March of 2020. So I think there are kind of three significant changes. The first one would be COVID taught us that we have to be nimble. Right? We have to be nimble and we have to use technology. And so you'll notice in the new edition of this book that all of the PD plans, which are really lesson plans for teacher training, have an online option. So if you are going to be delivering teacher professional development online, there's a way to do that. So that would be one, I think, pretty significant change, is that we have that option. I think another significant change has to do with our approach to language in the book. So in the first iteration of the book, we had an entire chapter dedicated to academic language. And what you'll note in the second edition of the book is that we're using the term contextual language. And a lot of my work and other publications have centered on this kind of change, I'll say, in the field. And it has to do with what we call subtractive bilingualism. So subtractive bilingualism is the idea that one language would be replaced by another one, okay? And that's a critique of our field, of ESL, and it's not something that we want to perpetuate. So the new approach has to do with holding up students' home language and adding the language that they're going to need, the English that they're going to need to be successful in school and to be successful in the workplace. So I think that would be one shift, is just moving away from simply we have to deliver academic English to we have to honor the linguistic tools that kids bring into the classroom and add to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And which is an important piece of that and I think as a whole, the education, I'm hoping we're shifting to that and seeing more asset-based and honoring the language and as we know in this work is that if we solidify that first language, it only helps the second language. So that's really important, and I'm glad that that's something that you guys have addressed. And it's also important as authors that you guys see, like, this is maybe something that was missing, and we saw that and we recognize it, and you're able to go back and rework it in and do that and provide that for teachers.
In fact, it's been a joy to go back and have a conversation with myself 5 years ago and say, yeah, this was good, and I would change the next thing. So it's been a joy to put things back together again. Finally, I would say the third significant change to the book is that we introduced the psychology of change. So we recognize that what we're suggesting is different. It's different from how schools have operated in the past. The psychology of change suggests that we don't change just with new knowledge, right? We change because we notice people around us doing things differently. Rogers' diffusion of innovation tells us that there are really very few people that are going to take up change early. So we think of those as the early adopters. I love the metaphor of the iPhone. Who gets the brand new iPhone? Most people don't, right? Most people wait around to see what kinks are going to be worked out, and then they get it, right? And so if we think about school change in the same way, we really just need one teacher to kind of take this leadership role and work with one of their colleagues, and then other people will start to notice, hey, this really works, rather than saying we've got to change everything immediately. And what we've learned, and what you'll hear in our third interview here, is the schools that are the most successful at SWEL are the ones that take it slow. They're the ones who are really careful and methodic about rolling it out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes, thank you for having
Thank
me.
you. Thank you, Jenny, for being here today. Can you tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what do you love about what you do?
So I'm a long-term educator. I started as a classroom teacher and then became an ELD teacher, and now have the privilege of working at the district level with all of the ELD teachers in the public school district I work for, which is about 90 ELD teachers, and as a ELD program specialist. I love what I do for many different reasons because I've had several different roles. Ultimately, I like working with students, and I've really loved the opportunity to support teachers and help them grow for the success of students.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. So you said you work with TESOL, with SWEL, and you you run PD online and in person. What kind of impact have you been hearing or even seeing, as I'm sure you work and you've gone to different campus sites? So can you share some of that with us?
Well, I'm going to talk about the impact I've been living.
Okay, that's even better.
Yes, because the reason I ended up with TESOL SWEL was because in the public school district that I work for a number of years ago, we went through a data-informed improvement process and looking at years of our district data and a root cause analysis for our multilingual learners. One of the goals that we came out of that process with was to build the capacity of all teachers to work with multilingual learners. So it started with data, and we're going to talk about data through this as well. And so through that, we were really looking for how can we do this? Because as you mentioned or heard about with Amy and Michelle, as an ELD teacher, if I got 30 minutes with a student, that was great.
You're
And
lucky.
that was a lot, right? And our students are spending probably 5 hours with classroom and content teachers. So we had this identified need, and we're looking for a way to fill that need. And so our district was innovative, and we looked at SWEL as kind of having English language development coaches to help build the capacity of all teachers to work with multilingual learners. And through that, because that's been something we've been working with for a number of years now, we collect data.
Yeah.
So we have been collecting data from teachers and student data. So we survey our teachers each year. Last year, so it's been 3 years that I've been surveying teachers who have worked with SWEL coaches. Last year, we had 125 teachers respond, which the fact that I sent a survey out in May I think that's good data in itself. That alone is excellent data. And so based on those responses, we asked them questions about like their awareness of their multilingual learner data after working with a SWEL coach, having more tools and strategies, how they feel about their ability now to meet the needs of the multilingual learners in their classroom. Kind of the average of that data from our last survey was that about 94% of the teachers who were surveyed agreed or strongly agreed with those statements.
They're ready. Okay.
And even more impressive, the statement that I love is that, I feel that my professional practice has been improved by working with a SWEL coach, and that was a 95% positive result on that. So our teachers, their classroom and content teachers who have worked on a SWEL coaching cycle are providing feedback that this is working for them. And then we also collect student data. And so since ESSA, every state needs to
There's accountability.
Yeah, there's accountability on growth towards proficiency. So we look at that data. And in our district, we were seeing overall about 38% of our students were meeting their annual proficiency growth target. And so we looked at how about the students who have worked with a SWEL coach. And there we were seeing 46% of students in classes where their teacher worked with a SWEL coach on a SWEL coaching cycle were meeting targets. And at the elementary level, where we have had SWEL coaching longer, we have more SWEL coaches, we were seeing it in 56%. So we were really having the teacher data and the student data, and that's what it's about, right?
Yes.
The teacher data is great, but we want to see that result in student achievement. And all of that data was pointing to this as being really a positive change for our district. And I'm super proud of my district, but it's not isolated to our district alone. Through that TESOL faculty role, we did have some feedback recently from a teacher in Iowa who said that at her school, they've seen 30% growth in their multilingual learner data since working with SWEL coaches.
I know this question is not something that I told you beforehand, but if a district or a teacher wants to be a part of it or get the PD, how would they go about getting this or being a part of it?
So, I think Michelle had mentioned that it's really helpful to start slow. But so they would start by investigating. They could look up TESOL SWEL online, and they're going to find a lot of opportunities to learn more about it. So we provide online and in-person professional learning about how to become SWEL certified to earn a SWEL certificate. We have 3 workshops that will lead you to a SWEL certification. And I actually feel like in our district, the fact that our teachers who have been through the SWEL coaching also have a certificate, one that provides some credibility for teachers that they're certified. It provides a level of confidence because as our teachers, they work a lot with students, but this also provides them the confidence to design and give professional development to adults, because it's for a lot of us, we've spent careers working with children, and it is different to work with adults.
Yes, and I hear that all the time. Like, put me in front of kids all day long, and then some teachers will be like, but don't put me in front of adults.
Right?
So it's different when you're amongst your peers and your colleagues, and you get a little intimidated versus working with your kids and like things that curriculum that and that kind. So it is different. Yes, absolutely.
And I know Michelle and Amy talk about, it's teacher leadership for school-wide English learning. And when we embarked on this, my thinking was really much more about the students and the classroom teachers building their capacity. But what I've really seen is some of that teacher leadership piece really coming to fruition. So I feel like our teachers who have gone through this and are SWEL coaching at their buildings are starting to be recognized as leaders in their buildings and having their expertise tapped into in ways that were unexpected but very positive.
Oh, well, that's great to hear. Well, thank you so much for sharing with me today and sharing with the audience.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another TESOL Media Lounge here in beautiful Long Beach, California. We'll see you next year in Utah. And remember, keep learning, stay curious, y hasta la próxima, disfruta el viaje.